Today, our daily devotion is found in Nehemiah chapters 9 and 10. Chapters 9 and 10 actually, works together so beautifully because in chapter 9, let me point something else to you first, and that is verses 1, 2, and 3, you see four things rather. You see a recognition. Verse number 1, they recognized that they were coming before a holy God, so they humbled themselves with sackcloth and ashes. Verse number 2, you see separation and confession. They separated themselves from the heathen, and they confessed the sin of their fathers, which they would do throughout this chapter. And in verse number 3, then you see devotion, how they stood up in their place and read the book of the law for a fourth part of the day. And then for another fourth part of the day, they confessed and worshiped the Lord their God. So they spent half the day in this committal unto God. That's devotion. That's devotion. So we see that. And then chapter 9 is essentially them confessing and going down through the history of the children of Israel and how sinful that their forefathers have been and how merciful God has been with them. And when God did bring down judgment, they said rightly so. And you see that especially in verses number 36 and 37, if you want to look there. But so you see in chapter 9, the recognition of not only their sinfulness, but God's mercifulness all throughout there. And then in chapter 10, they make a covenant. Much of the forefathers there, and that's the first 27 chapters, are just listing people that have entered into this covenant with God. And essentially in the covenant, they had said that they were going to live separate, they were going to live godly, and they were going to make the house of God a priority in their lives. You see it all throughout verses 30 through 39. We see the house of our God, 33, the house of our God, 34, the house of the Lord, 35, the house of our God, 36 twice, 37, 38. It's all in there, but then it sums up in verse number 39, and that is, and we will not forsake the house of our God. You know what, Christians, what we should endeavor to do is what the children of Israel did right here in Nehemiah's day, and that is simply confess the sinfulness in which we are, and then humble ourselves and bring ourselves mercifully and cast ourselves upon the mercy of God. Vow to live a separated life, a sanctified life, a godly life before man, and make the house of God a priority, and see if God would do great and mighty things in our church. God bless.